Hi, this is Brian with ActiveMelody.com. For this week's guitar lesson, we have a really cool little blues composition that isn't your standard predictable blues. It's got kind of a different cadence to it. This is played in the key of E, and I'm playing this by myself with no jam track, and you can do the same. I'm going to show you how to do it. We'll break it down note for note. I'll show you how to play the whole thing in this lesson. So I've got the lesson split into two parts. I've got the intro part, which is set aside for premium members, but the entire rest of the lesson is available in this video. However, if you'd like to download the tablature and have access to the on-screen tab viewer, which is interactive, you can get that by going to ActiveMelody.com, go to the weekly lessons page, and do a search for EP357. Alright, so when I started this video, I didn't start off with the chords. I started off with a little intro part, a little bluesy run that goes... Cool, very bluesy sounding, but it has its own timing. It didn't really fit in with the chord, so I wanted to separate those two and make them two separate videos. So I've got the intro, which is cut out of this video. That's for premium members only. But in this video, we are going to go through everything else, all of the 1, 4, 5 chords and everything that I played there. I'm just taking the intro piece out. But if you're not a premium member, you would obviously have access to that intro, but you'd also get the tablature and all of the extra materials. Most lessons have jam tracks that go with them. You get all of that stuff for premium membership, and I have 10 years worth of lessons. So if you're serious about learning to improvise on guitar, or even if you just like to sit around the house and play by yourself, but you need compositions to play, Active Melody has lots and lots of that. So just wanted to throw in a little plug for myself at the beginning of this, which I don't usually do, but anyway. So that we got that. Now this song is in the key of E. It's a 1-4-5 blues, so it's got an E chord, an A chord, and a B chord, but it doesn't follow the typical 1-4 or the typical 12-bar blues format. It's not the old Lightning Hopkins shuffle thing. This has more of a like maybe an Allman Brothers feel. I was thinking, well, after the fact, when I was noodling around with this, I was thinking of the song Melissa. You know, those chords are similar. And the one thing that this has in common with that, and I think you're going to like this a lot, is you're playing a chord, but you've got these open strings that ring out, and you get this kind of drone effect. It's a really pretty sound. And it's something I discovered a long time ago when I was playing an E chord. Actually, this would be a little sidebar, but if you take an E chord and slide it up to here, it could be your 4 chord, and then slide it up 2 more. So you can do... You can play around with that. A little lesson within a lesson there. But the way that I started this is up here. I've got my ring finger on the 9th fret 4th string, and my index finger is on the 7th fret 3rd string. And I started by hitting the open 6th string, that low E string. But now we're going to play strings 4, 3, 2, and 1. That 2 and 1, those are the open B and E strings. That would be ringing out if you played an E chord anyway. So you can think about everything we're going to do here as representing the E chord. Now I'm going to show you how to play it first, and then I'll explain where it's coming from. But we started off like that, and then we're going to go, so think of that as pattern 1. This will be pattern 1, or shape 1, I guess that's an easier way to say it. And then this will be shape 2. So to get into shape 2, I've got my index finger down here on the 6th fret 3rd string, my middle finger is on the 7th fret 4th string. Always letting the 1 and 2 strings ring out, the open 1 and 2 string. So you have, and that's the other thing, is every time that I'm moving into a new shape, I'm coming back and hitting that low E string. So you have, and now we're going to go back to shape 1, which is down here. So I've got my ring finger on the 6th fret 4th string, index finger is on the 4th fret 3rd string. So backing up, you have, and then we're going to take that down 2 frets. Alright? So from the beginning. And then watch this. That's just an E chord. But you hammer on your index finger to the 3rd fret. Or I'm sorry, to the 3rd string, 1st fret. There's a sidebar too. Anytime you play an E chord, if you're playing a blues, hammer on that index finger. It just sounds better. Sounds more bluesy. And then I went. So this is an A chord, A sus2 chord, but all I'm doing is I've got my middle finger, my ring finger on the 2nd fret, strings 3 and 4. And then I do an upstroke on the 1 string, and then back to your E chord. Hammer on with your index finger. So from the beginning we have that's the E, that's the 1 chord, everything we're playing there. Now that's got kind of a weird timing thing, and if you're a premium member, obviously you have access to the tab and you can go through it and get it precisely. I'm not going to count it out, but you can go back and watch that and just kind of get the feel for that. Now what is it? What's going on there? Really, it's just the major scale that I'm playing. So if we look at the major scale, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. If we were doing that for E, but I started here on the, and I did everything on the 4th string, starting on the 2nd fret, it would look like that, right? Well, when I'm playing these notes together, I'm playing a harmonized 3rd. So that means they're 3 intervals apart. So if that's the 1, 1, 2, 3, there's your 3rd. So now I just need to play these 2 notes at the same time. Well, obviously I can't play them both on the 4th string, but I can find this note in a different string, which would be, in this case, it'd be the 1st fret 3rd string. So you put them together and you have a harmonized 3rd. That's all a harmonized 3rd is. So now you just play the major scale with that harmonized 3rd. Now the one thing that makes it sound a little different is if I come up to here, you can hear that how that sounds a little more bluesy, and that's because of that note, which is a flat 7. So if we look at the scale again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, there's your 7, but you flat the 7, you get that bluesy sound. And that's actually Mixolydian mode. I'm not going to get too far into modes, but that's really all that is. That's Mixolydian mode. But we're playing it a harmonized version of Mixolydian mode, harmonized 3rd. But you don't have to worry about that. That's just for those of you that want to get into the, you know, like under the hood and try to understand why the car is running. You can still drive the car and have fun with it by just remembering these runs that you can do in the key of E. So if you're ever playing an E chord, whether you're playing rhythm or lead, you can start to work that in and get all kinds of really cool sounds. So just play around with that. You just know that you got that open 1 and 2 string. That's what gives it that real full, chimey, pretty sound. All right, so we have and then I threw in a blues lick, and then we go back and we repeat it again. We play it in a different spot. But this lick is going to serve you well if you don't know it. So this is just an E minor pentatonic scale. We're in pattern 1 for E, and you can see most of those notes are played with a nut there, which is open strings. But what I'm doing, so it's starting on the 3rd fret 1st string, and when I hit that note, you push it sharp. Open 1st string, 3rd fret 2nd string, open 2nd string, so you have, and then I came down and went, that's a quick slide from the 3rd fret to the 2nd fret on the 3rd string, open 3rd string, 2nd fret 3rd string, 2nd fret 4th string, so, and then we're back to the E chord. Now that's just a little filler lick, and every time between the repeats I like to throw in just a little blues lick in E minor pentatonic scale. And so play around with that. If you don't like that one, you can find another one. But as long as you're playing E minor pentatonic scale, it's going to sound great. So after, then I went back to the same thing, but notice I'm not playing, starting it up here. And now I'm playing like that. Instead of going like this, I'm doing it here. Just to show you some different options. It's going to sound a little different this way. And that's because we don't have the 1 and 2 strings ringing out. We just have the 1. So what I'm doing here, I have my index finger on the 3rd fret 2nd string. My middle finger is on the 4th fret 3rd string. So I slide into that, and then I've got the 1 string ringing out with it. and then I come down and just hit strings 2 and 3 on the 2nd fret. It's just your A chord, really. So you have, and then back to your E chord with the hammer on, right? So, and then we go back to this shape. So really all we've done is we've played that in different plays, right? Just a different variation. This way is a little more concise because it's all down here, and it allows you to be, it's not so chimey, so it allows you to have a little more control, so you can be a little more rhythmic. So you can go, hear how much more tight and controlled it sounds? That's ringing out and filling the space. So even though the notes are the same, it has a different, you play it different. Back to your E chord, A chord, and then E chord. Now we're going to go to the 4 chord. And to get to the 4 chord is the A. And so to get there I went. And this, I'm starting with the open 6th string, the open E string, hitting that twice, or is it 3 times? I don't remember, but anyway, you're hitting that. And you're going to do a slide from the 2nd fret to the 4th fret on the 6th string. Back to the open 6th string. Do it again. So all together you have. And then you go to the open 5th string. Now those are all downstrokes with the right hand, so you're not alternate picking that. And that sounds kind of corny, and I was trying to think where I got that, and I realized I was watching some Roy Clark videos on YouTube, and I saw him doing Folsom Prison Blues where he had the mic stand and he was rubbing his guitar on it, doing all these kind of weird slides. And I think that's where I got that idea, but anyway, somehow it worked into the blues here. So that's what I did to get to the 4 chord, which is the A. Now, what I played sounds like that. Now, what is that? It's got kind of a jazzy feel. It's really just playing the A9 chords and A6 chords. We're playing them in different spots, or we're playing the A9 chord different spots. But what I'm doing, I'm starting with that 5th string, and then I've got this minor chord triad that's happening here. So I've got my 7th fret 1st string, and then 8th fret 2nd string, 9th fret 3rd string. A little stair step. So you start with the 5th string, and then you play that. Now that's an A9. I'll explain this in a minute. Let me show you the 2 shapes we're going to play off. Here's the first shape. The second one looks like this. So that's where I've got my index finger on the 5th fret 1st string, but then I've got these 3 fingers making the D7 chord shape. That's the easiest way to describe it. So if you think of your D7 chord in 1st position, slide that shape up so that your pinky is on the 7th fret 2nd string. So you have that, and then you have your index finger on that 5th fret 1st string. That is an A6 chord when you play it with the A in the bass. So I don't want to get into the theory of why is that a minor chord. You know, that should be an E minor, right? And it is an E minor chord, E minor triad, but if you throw an A in the bass, it's now an A9 chord. So you just have to trust me on that. So that's an A9, and then we come down to the A6. Now if you take a 6 chord, remember this, if you take a 6 chord and you go down 2 frets with whatever you're doing, however you're making a 6 chord, that 6 chord becomes a 9 chord. So we played an A9 here, and we played one here. You can hear they sound the same. So we started here, A9, A6, A9, back to the A6. So you should be able to do a little quick math here and go, wait a minute. So if that's a 9 chord and you go up 2 chords or 2 frets to get to the 6 chord, and you know that's a 9 chord, you should know then that if you go up 2 frets, that's an A6 chord. So you have an A6, A9, A6, A9. You keep going, A6, A9, and all these that I'm playing are just these little triads, minor triads. But that's what I did for the A chord. And remember that if you want to play a blues kind of jazzy, that kind of thing. It sounds great working in the 6 and the 9 chord. Did that the first time through. The second time through, did a walk down. And what I did there is I started with an A7 chord, and look how we're making it. That's the D chord shape. So think of your D chord in first position, take that same shape, play it up here so that your middle finger is on the 5th fret 2nd string. You're going to play strings 5, 4, 3, and 2. And if you happen to hit the 1 string, that's okay. It's just a repeat. So you can take that shape, and some of you say, wait, why is that an A7 chord? Well, if you think of an A7 like this, where you're barring, there's your A7 major chord, and then you take your pinky off, you have an A7. Look at those notes. Same notes. I just didn't need the whole bar. So that's an easier way to get to it. If you ever want a fast way to get to an A7, just think your D chord shape and play it here. And what we're going to do is we're going to walk it down. Same shape, we just went down 2 frets. And then we're going to come down to here, which is also an A7. So we just went from one A7 to the other and connected the two. That is played with my ring finger on the 2nd fret 2nd string, my middle finger on the 2nd fret 4th string. We're playing strings 5, 4, 3, and 2. And if we happen to hit the 1 string, it's okay. So walking it down. Really cool way to do that A turnaround. Okay, let's take it from the 4 chord. First time. Second time. Now, what do I do to get back to the 1 chord? I throw in another blues lick. This is a great blues lick in E, and all I'm doing is easy to do. We're going to slide from the 3rd fret to the 5th fret on the 2nd string, but we're also going to play that open 1 string. Slide back to the 3rd fret, and then strings 1 and 2 open. And then watch this. What I'm doing when I played that is I'm picturing the E chord. When I play an E chord, my index finger is on that 1st fret 3rd string. So I just go ahead and put that there. And then this finger kind of dances around it. So while that's anchored there, I've got my middle finger now on the 2nd fret 3rd string. Then we play that note, and then my middle finger goes down on the 2nd fret 4th string. So then we go back to the same 1 chord, same where we played up here. Now, I don't go back to where in the intro, the first time through, we walked it down like this. I only did that 1 time just to create that real chimey sound. I don't go back to that after that. The rest of the time, I do it down here, for whatever that's worth. All right, let me back up from the beginning and play everything up to that point, and then we'll move on to the 5 chord and learn that. So we have. Okay, now we go to the 5 chord. What I did there is I walked to the B7 chord. This is a great little walk down turnaround part that I've been doing for years. I remember the guy that showed me this. I was like probably 18. So when you go to your 5 chord, your B7 chord, I'm going to assume you know how to make that. But you just take your middle finger there, which would be on that 5th string. You're going to go up 2 frets from where you start there. So you're going to go up to the 4th fret. And so what I did here is I went. So I came up to the 4th fret 5th string and then played the open 4th string. Technically that's wrong, that note, but it happens kind of rhythmically and it sort of works. Then we go down to the 3rd fret and then back to that B7 chord. So you have, and then I came up here and went, and what I'm doing for that is, that's your B7 chord, right? So I was thinking about this chord shape. That's just your B chord. If you were to bar here on the 7th fret, and then these fingers are making up the E chord shape out of caged, that's a B chord. So you have, then I came up to this position. Now I did not play that bar chord, but I played this little kind of a variation off of that chord. So if you think of that bar chord and you think of strings 3 and 1, those are the only 2 strings I'm going to think about. If you just play those 2, it looks like that. So that's another thing to think about when you're going into a chord. You don't have to play a chord. You could play a chord like that, you know, just 2 notes. And so that's what I'm doing there. So I'm sliding into that. Ring or middle fingers on the 8th fret 3rd string, index fingers on the 7th fret 1st string. Now I'm hybrid picking that, so I'm picking that on the 3rd string with my pick, and then I'm using my ring finger to pluck the 1st string. Slide that down 2 frets. That's just something that you'll have to remember. Anytime you're playing off a chord shape, you can always play it and then go down 2 frets, and it always works. So you can go, and then I'm going to come up here. Now look at what's going on. Well, let me show you how to play this first. That's your D7 chord shape, but you're playing it up here now. So your ring finger's on the 9th fret, 2nd string. You're going to take that down 2 frets. Now that should ring a bell. You should remember, wait a minute, that D7 shape, we were just doing that. Oh yeah, we were playing the 6 to the 9 over A. There's that shape. So let's go back. So for A, so there's your A major bar chord. You're going to see what I'm doing here. There's that chord shape using the E chord shape, rather. There's the A6. Okay, I can see how the 2 connect. So we're playing the B chord now, right? There's that little shape. So that's all I'm doing is doing the B6 to the 9, just like we did for the A. So hopefully you're connecting the dots and seeing, anytime you're seeing a B chord, or forget the B, anytime you're seeing this chord shape, picture it like this, but also picture it like this, because now you can work that in, right? Okay, so that's your 5 chord, and then we go to the 4 chord. I just went to an A7 chord. Bar the first 4 strings on the 2nd fret, ring fingers on the 3rd fret, 1st string. Play the chord like that. And then I threw in a little bluesy lick that goes. Alright, let me show you that. So we're back to pattern 2, minor pentatonic scale pattern 2 for E, for the key of E. Remember, all these blues licks we're throwing in, we're not following the chord changes. We're just throwing in licks in the key of the song, which is E. So that's just pattern 2. I'm walking right down it, sliding up to the 5th fret 1st string, 3rd fret 1st string, and then watch this. That's 5, 3 on the 2nd string, and then the 4th fret 3rd string. That's all just pattern 2. And then I went, slid into it, and then I went. That's a quick slide from the 4th fret 3rd string down to the 2nd fret 3rd string. Open 3rd string, 2nd fret 4th string. So from the beginning of that it goes, slide into it, and then after that I went. Now all I'm doing there is I'm trying to get my hand back in position to play the E chord. So if you play an E chord, look at what you've got there on strings 4 and 5. You've got your ring finger and your middle finger on the 2nd fret, strings 4 and 5. And that's all I'm doing is I'm hammering onto that. So I'm playing the open 5th string, hammering on, and then I'm playing that note, which is the 2nd fret 4th string. So all together. And then I can hit that open 6th string and go right back into. The last chord is an E. Actually, that's an E add 2 or a add 9. E add 2. That's the same note, but this is a kind of a pretty way of playing an E chord. And let me show you how to play that. You take your middle finger, play an E chord the way you normally would. You've got your middle finger, which is on the 2nd fret, 5th string. Now take your pinky, so keep that finger there. But now you got your pinky up here on the 4th fret, 4th string. And then you put your index finger where it normally would be when you play an E chord. Real pretty sounding chord. It's called an E add 9 or an E add 2. So that's how I ended that. You could end it on an E7 if you want it to be real traditional blues. You know, that kind of thing. Okay, let me back up then, and I'll play through this one more time. And again, if you're not a premium member, look into it. Also, if you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel, I would recommend you doing that because I put out new lessons each week, and that way you can be notified when I do. All you have to do is click the subscribe button and then that alert bell to be notified through your mobile phone or whatever device you're on. All right, here we go from the beginning, and then that'll wrap up this week's lesson. All right, so here we go.